Estás viendo Canal América, televisión dominicana para el mundo.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got. While the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your fears.
Welcome to a Time for Truth show. It's a pleasure to be with you again. I'm your host, Dr. Bernard Fialkoff. And a lot of you have been asking, how do you get the previous segments? So, very simple. You go on YouTube. You click on a Time for Truth show and then just find the link to subscribe. Click on the subscribe and you will be enabled to view all the previous shows and segments. And we look forward to having you as our member. Tonight, we have a very special show because our country has been beset with murder, violence, crime, drug abuse, drug-related situations, and a lot of other things attendant to that. Homelessness, vagrancy, lack of opportunity, dropouts from school, on and on and on. But tonight we have a man who has a tremendous heritage and also who's doing something about it in a very positive way to give our youth a different slant, a new slant on life. And Buddha, if you put him up on the screen, I'd like to introduce our viewers to Mr. Phillip Rucker, the son of, you see there, Holcomb Rucker, who has a park named after him, Rucker Park, very famous park. Phillip served this country from 1965 until 1969 in the U.S. Army, and was honorably discharged. That amount of time in the Army gave him tremendous intention and for him to pursue his community activities and helping our youth to have a better life and to improve urban communities and social structure. He has done tremendous amount as a community activist and leader, starting very early at the age of 16 when he organized and supervised the Phil Rucker High School Basketball Summer Tournament featuring Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Nate Tiny Archibald, two later NBA greats, and top 50 NBA Hall of Fame at 225th Street Playground in the Bronx. Phil also played and coached in his tournament, which also had the late Dean the Dream Meminger, a three-time high school All-American, and Eric Brown, another high school All-American, who also participated in '64. Phil was the executive director and commissioner of the Phil Rucker Pro Basketball Tournament during the mid-'70s and spent the '80s basically helping to raise his sons, three sons, his daughter Ramona, and busy with his family. He was founding member of the Jackie Robinson Center for Physical Culture, vice president of youth leadership training under the Vanguard Independent Democratic Association with the leadership of the legendary Assemblyman Al Vaughn and district leader Annette Robinson. Rucker was the vice president of the 79th Police Precinct Community Council under the late Alma Carroll, and he was a founding member of the Bedford-Stuyvesant Community Conference, serving as chairperson of the Public Relations Task Force and the U.S. Task Force with co-chair Charles Pinn. Mr. Rucker was first chairperson of the Bedford-Stuyvesant Community Conference, elected by his peers of the 10 task force chairpersons. He left Jackie Robinson Center for Physical Culture to pursue his own dream and founded Phil Rucker's Adopt a Block Coalition, partnering with Brooklyn North Police Command, the Tenant President's Council in Central Brooklyn, Ellison Youth Incorporated, and the Brooklyn Perinatal Network under Ms. Ngozi Moses, bringing 10 active youth block and tenant associations online within 2 years. Mr. Rucker wrote and published his book, Rucker Basketball Wars, in 2003, and is in work in releasing an updated version, which can be obtained at reactivedesigns.com. He is a prolific community activist and Buddha, if you will. If you can bring up on our screen, Mr. Phil Rucker. Welcome.
Welcome, and thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you, because in this world with all the craziness going on, I wanted to give you a chance to, put on stage what you're doing, because it's very important. So, first of all, what was it like, because I'm sure all our viewers want to know, is to be the son of Holcomb Rucker and all that what's happened at that park of his?
Well, it's different. I'd say it's different because of the fact that you don't have the luxury of living your life carelessly. You have to live your life a lot more carefully, with a lot more integrity, and a lot more thoughtfulness about everything that you do, because you just can't be frivolous with your decision making.
Absolutely. You're on stage all the time and you're a role model.
Right. And you're going to make mistakes anyway.
Nobody's perfect. I think one of the things I've learned is something I was taught is you make a mistake, it's good because you're going to learn from it.
That's right. You learn from it and you get stronger. Mistakes are good as long as you understand that once you make a mistake or mistakes, that there's something to teach you there. There's something that you can learn from it if you take the right attitude towards applying yourself. This is what we try to do with children. At Jackie Robinson, for instance, we had 5,000 children annually, 26 sites, and we had 350 personnel. They were teachers, social workers, and coaches, as well as we had gospel, cultural, dancers, marching band, especially marching band, the steppers, and each site had different teams. What we found out was that the teachers in the daytime were able to manage their school better, their classes better, and the principals were able to manage their school better because of the fact that we were in the school. Because their teachers would be in the after-school program many times. So if the child didn't behave, we were able to keep the child from playing. You don't get to play, you don't get to practice, you gave your teacher a hard time. It's not happening. So we were able to bring a certain amount of discipline formalized. We had a parents' council that was stronger under the late Donald Pankey, that was stronger than the PTAs. We could bring busloads of parents to an event,
Wow.
and we would supply the buses. What was the secret? We had a phone bank with the parents, constantly going, constantly, all the time. Anytime child had problems, we were on the phone. We put on, which I personally supervised, showcases monthly. Those showcases allowed the children to show off their skills, which they had beautiful outfits. So you have martial arts, you'd have dance, various dance, tap dances like the Rockettes, and you have African dances, modern dances. We have gospel singers, choir, uh, and you had the band, the marching band inside, and this would go on to 10:30, 11 o'clock at night on a weeknight.
Wow.
We didn't have people getting mugged. We didn't have people getting robbed. We didn't have people doing drugs because everybody was occupied. The drug dealers left us alone. The gangs left us alone. As long as we had on our Jackie Robinson colors, our jackets, the staff, because they didn't want their little brothers and sisters to be in a gang. They were in a gang. They couldn't get out. They were stuck. But they wanted better life for their little brothers and sisters. So we were able to do that for them. And they knew that we were honorable people. We really cared about the kids.
You know, Phil, I want to interrupt you for a second because I want to say something to back up what you just said and not to lose the point. I've always felt that things like what you've done and what you're doing brings a lot of humanity into the community. And what happens is when you get people interacting, and it sounds too simple, but when they're with each other and they talk to each other and they see that they all have the same needs, same wants, that all of a sudden, even the criminals, like you said, are not so criminal anymore. And who knows what can happen if a program like yours is continued on over a period of years. So I think, first of all, thank you for having done that. And second of all, is that we have to see how we can continue this. And I'd love for Drug Free World to do this with your groups and with what we'll be doing. So continue. So, because I know you're running a tournament now, right? In the summertime, you run a tournament.
Yes. What we're getting ready to do is after the post-pandemic. First of all, the Rucker tournament started in 20th century, as you know. This is 21st century. We're well into it. What I'm doing is I put together and have been writing out plans for the last few years on how to create platforms, just like an app, but a human platform, so that people that are in authority, because we have leaders. There's no such thing as there's no leaders. That's a misstatement. One that suits a lot of people for their own grandizement. But you have church leaders. You have religious leaders of all sorts. You have politicians, non-government organizations, municipal workers. Therefore, what we're doing is we're saying, you're coming to the microphone after somebody got shot, after the crime has been committed, and what's going to happen is the media is going to say, yes, we're glad you're here, but then somebody is going to say from the crowd, but what are you doing to stop it? Now, that's where we come in at. Because fast forward, we've asked the leaders, the politicians, we're going to ask the unions, the NGOs, churches, all of them to come out at night and play basketball in the evening. With 3-on-3 basketball tournaments for this year because of the time constraints that to put this on. We're batting 1,000% with everybody we've talked to. 1,000%. That's just like unheard of. I'm going to use my family's name, my father's name, our legacy, the legacy of so many others out there that have put out so much in the past, like Bobby Hunter, McCullough, Greg Marius from the Detainers, basketball park at Entertainers Basketball Classic at Rucker Park, and so many other people that I can't even name that have invested their time and energy in the Rucker legacy, which is worldwide. What we're going to do is have them, the kids are going to play girls and the youth division will play high school division also in the daytime at Jackie Robinson Park in Brooklyn. At nighttime, we're going to Highland Park, which has just been renovated, by the way, with glass backboards and outdoors. Beautiful, beautiful location also. And what we're going to do there is we're going to have the Phil Rucker's Unified Services and 5 Borough Presidents basketball tournament. Now you have the adults playing in the evening. So the adults will be there from 4 to 9 p.m. So now you're not leading from behind anymore. You're not going to the podium after the gunshot, after the crime is committed. You're out there saying, if we could do it, you could do it. Now they're leading from the front. Plus you're taking your actual leaders, which are the people I mentioned before, your elected officials, your NGOs, your municipal workers, your church leaders. Those are your leaders. Now we're not going to sit and quibble about whether or not you like them or not. That's mostly has to do with public relations, with the press. We don't care about that. We don't have an agenda, but it gives them and people like yourself a chance to speak on the issues to the children and to the community right there where they're at. Now, after we finish the games, we're going to take those teams and we're going around to various Brooklyn establishments, some of the better restaurants in Brooklyn, and we're going to live stream the games to those restaurants after the games when the people come in for refreshments, and they'll keep their restaurants open till 11 p.m. and their refreshment drinks open to 11:30 in behalf of the tournaments. What that does is that gets the people that run the city, that actually are your true leaders, into the community, leading in the evening and showing that it can be done and that they are standing up instead of leading from behind. In the end, the group, the group that wins the tournament from the 5 boroughs, that particular group, the 5 boroughs, where the borough presidents will designate teams for themselves to represent them. That team will get to hold a Stanley Cup type trophy from Brooklyn Urban Glass. And that trophy they'll keep for the whole year at their borough hall. So if you want that trophy back, the next year you have to play to get it back. Now that's 21st century Rucker. Because now you're out in the community, you're dealing with the kids, and you're going to do compare and contrast. Compare and contrast. You have to compare the street life, the drugs, the gangs, the shootings, with the life of somebody that's a working civil service, NGO, church, whatever, elected official lifestyle. There are two different lifestyles. So you compare and you break it down from, say, $70,000 a year. These kids can't understand $70,000 a year. That's, okay, you might as well say $1 million to them. But they can understand if you break it down into one day's salary of a particular worker. We take the parents who may have had minor criminal offenses, brushes with the law. We have them there. We show them that there may be some civil service jobs that they can get, that they still qualify for. Get them into the system. Get everybody. We don't have to reinvent the wheel anymore. This is not like when my father's time was, where he was winging it. He was winging it, and people copied it all over the world. What he did. What was happening in Ukraine with Zelensky, because he went out there and he led from the front, and everybody admires that. Then this is what we have to do today. We have to lead from the front. The children, they will follow you if you are sincere about making change in their lives. We're going to make those changes in their lives. And that's only part one of what I have in mind, and the people that are with me have in mind for the future. You had mentioned the homeless. I have a written plan how to get them off the subways and help the homeless, and but this not today.
Well, you know what I was going to say is, I like what you're saying because you're bringing people together. You're letting people. One of the things I always like to learn is by viewing. I don't like somebody to force something down my throat. I like to see, compare what I see. So I think it's a very good way of having these youth learn and decide for themselves, empower them, so they can say, oh, if I go this way, this happens. If I go that way, this happens. And they decide. So I wholeheartedly think that what you're saying is so important, because that way they start getting some integrity, like you said. That way they get like you did. I like that, what you did with the discipline. Sometimes you get somebody who's good at athletics, but he just disregards everything else in life, disregards his peers, disregards his elders, and that's how they get in trouble, because they're not community oriented. So I think your program, Phil Rucker, is amazing, and I look forward. I know Bobby Hunter mentioned a lot about you, about the Rucker tournament that you're holding, and Drug Free World looks forward with Bobby Hunter, with me, to working with you to educate these kids. And by all means, and you know, we're doing some things right now. We did with the World Mayors Conference. Bobby
yeah.
Friday mentioned to you how we had some
Okay.
basketball games with them. And you're doing the same thing. We're going to look to try to bring this to Philadelphia, New York City with Mayor Adams. So unfortunately for this show, we ran out of time, but it's been a pleasure meeting you and having you on the show.
It was a pleasure for me too. I loved it. Thank you.
Well, we'll have it some more. I look forward to being with you. And for those of you out there, you know, go out and support Phil Rucker's tournament, you know, at his Rucker organization. And it's been a pleasure to have you with us. And for now, we'll see you on the next episode of A Time for Truth show. Be well.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got. But the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your feet